Podcast, episode 97, Lamar. We have a special guest with us.
Yes, we have Joe Cash, and he is working on an upcoming documentary, Double B's. Thank you for joining us, Joe.
Nice to be here.
So, just to start off, before we get into the documentary, how did you get into movies, specifically B movies and everything like that?
I got into movies in a weird way. It was through a friend of mine's mother. Back in about 2005, she was working on a film called Forest of the Damned with Tom Savini, and invited me down with her son to help out on the set and be a part of it. And I enjoyed it so much, I decided to get in, do more films. And then worked on films like Fast and the Furious, Mad Max Fury Road, stuff like that.
Oh, right on.
And then ended up at the start of COVID. All the jobs had basically vanished because of COVID had happened, and it hit the film industry quite hard at the start of it. Where I decided just to start doing my own things and do B movies and stuff. And we were being received well, like the footage by people like Lloyd Kaufman from Troma, and ended up basically doing mainly films for Troma.
So the documentary, Double B's, the story of sex and nudity in horror films. What is the deal? Like, why do we think sex and nudity go hand in hand with horror films?
Well, for me, when I was growing up, doing the VHS rentals and stuff, when you're a teenager and you're watching a film and there's, tits in it, you're going to kind of remember it more.
Agreed.
So I think for me, and speaking to like fans of horror as well, it's kind of a given, but for some reason mainstream horror films have kind of tried to chop out the nudity quite a bit. But a lot of horror fans actually still like nudity films, and even like the over-the-top, ridiculous amount of nudity in B movies side of things. Where I think fans just like it because it's a comforting thing, because it's what they're used to from growing up watching horror films.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it's you just don't really see it that often in mainstream horror.
Yeah, and I think it's because of, kind of like what we're going through. I won't say it's kind of an attack from PC culture and everything like that, but it's kind of like, we're not doing that anymore. But do you feel like, even if you have like nudity in those movies, like, do you think like it's an offensive thing? Do you think people like kind of take it too far when they're like, oh, we can't have that like in mainstream and everything like that?
I think there's no real limit of how far you can take things, especially in horror films. I think if you're not offending at least one person with a horror film, you ain't doing it right.
That's a good point.
And I think with people getting offended by it in films in general, it's just, at the end of the day, it's a naked body. Everyone's got one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one might be a bit more, nice looking than the next or whatever, but it's what it is. And if you're offended by it, here's the thing: don't watch horror films.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You might as well just walk out the theater right then and there. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even as far back as, I know it's not really a horror film, but Rocky Horror Picture Show in the mid-70s, that pushed the limits for a lot of the sexual side of things in film. And nowadays, if you watch it, it's very tame compared to even something you'll see on mainstream TV.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's the thing is, if you, for instance, if you do something, I was speaking to a friend of mine, another director called Tony Newton, a while ago, and it's one of those things. If you do something and people are talking about it because it's offending them or shocking them, you're doing something right because you're pushing the envelope. And I think that's the thing with nudity is, yeah, you can offend people with it. You can go too far in the mainstream eyes. But at the end of the day, there's no real limit for that stuff. And like I said again, if you offend someone with it, choose a different film.
100%. So, like now you've made a whole bunch of like movies with Troma and stuff, and like Lloyd's pretty cool with like going over the top with everything. What about the
Yep.
actors, working with the actors and stuff? Are they usually pretty cool with like when you ask them, okay, there's going to be nudity in this scene or whatever?
To be fair, I how I did it is I did it quite differently with my films. Is I didn't go looking for actors and actresses who had worked in films before. I looked for models mainly, and like people who were local, who were into a horror genre or who were alternative looking.
Okay.
And I just went, look, it's a Troma film. There's nudity, there's blood. It's over the top. It's not going to be an Oscar-winning thing at all, but it's going to be fun. And most of them were like, yep, sign me up. And
Right.
when I've worked with them, most people who I've worked with, they've gone, right, let me know when you got another one you're doing. Let me know when you got another one with it. People just like doing it.
Yeah.
That is another thing, because it's like we've all seen movies. It's like you see, of course, a lot more women like, nude on films and stuff like that. Do you think, like, of course, there's sometimes every once in a while there are men that are nude on films. Do you think there's like men aren't ass enough to be like nude on film, or do they just, well, because they don't want to get naked like that? Like, do you think there's a big difference?
I think there's a difference because it's like a lot of the. I won't go into too many details, but it's like I'm doing a film next year, which is a live adaptation of a hentai manga.
Oh.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Imagine try casting that. Is when you're looking for guys for it, they're either like really super excited about being in it, but they think it's going to be like some sort of wet dream porn thing, and it's like, nope, that's not how it is. It's a film at the end of the day. If you want that, go on the internet with your right hand. You know what I mean? But a lot of guys are either like that, but they just think it's going to be a really pervy thing where that's not the case, or they're all talk and they don't follow through in the sense of if they want to do nudity stuff, they're like, oh yeah, and then it's all of a sudden, oh no, someone might see it, or oh, it's too cold today. You know what I'm trying to say? It's one of those.
Oh man.
Which I could hear some dude saying that.
Yeah, but it's I had actually one guy who worked on the film. He came down to film the scene, and after 10 minutes of being there, he's like, I can't do this. I've got to go. And he wasn't even being nude. It's because there was a topless girl beside him.
Wait, what? So he felt uncomfortable being next to this woman that was topless.
Yeah. I know. And it was kind of like fully knowing what was going to happen beforehand as well.
I don't even know how to like get the logic of that, because it's kind of like, well, you're just standing there, like she's not doing, but it's not me.
Yeah, and all he had to do was pretend to be dead.
Jeez. Oh man.
I know it's one of those things, but to be perfectly honest, a lot of the people a lot of the guys I work with, if they're cool, I work with them again and again. I've only ever had one real issue in this country because obviously the UK is not as open-minded, let's say, as America with some stuff. And last year we did a fake trailer for a Troma film, which was released called Grindsploitation 9. And the fake trailer was called She Dogs of the SS, and it was one of those sort of Nazi exploitation trailers from the 70s.
Yep.
And we had a guy in it who played this SS officer in this trailer. But he also works in a school as his day job. And Yeah, you can see how it was going. And one of the students had found him on IMDb,
Oh man.
and he got suspended for 3 months because they thought he was an actual neo-Nazi.
Oh,
Yikes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where we ended up getting Troma to email the school as well as myself saying, "No, this is an actual film. It's all legit." It's. I don't know how to explain it any more than that. But he got his job back, and he's fine now. He's actually looking to go to a different job so he can get back into doing these films.
Huh. Jeez. So, over the course of making the documentary, did you learn anything that maybe you didn't realize before? In particular, there always seems to be some rules in horror movies, like the first person naked or the first people to have sex, they seem to be the first person that die. Is any of that
Yeah.
true? Did we find this out?
Well, the documentary's more about. It's so to explain to your listeners of this is the documentary. All the people in it are either fans of horror or have been in horror or have some connection to horror of some sort.
Okay.
And all of them are either nude, topless, or in very skimpy lingerie in the documentary. So it's because before, but do something a bit fun. We also all the money raised from that documentary, so any money which comes from it will go to Keep Breast Foundation in America.
Okay, cool.
And we just thought we wanted to do something fun, something to stand out from it. And when I was asking questions and when people been answering their questions for the documentary, a lot of the girls who have been in horror and also are fans of it, they are the biggest fans of female nudity in horror. They want more of it, and it's something you wouldn't expect to hear. But they actually, because you get all the people online going, "Oh no, this is offensive to women" and all that sort of stuff. No, most of them are actually quite open to it and quite like it. They want more of it back in horror. And I think that was the shocking thing for me from it. What I could take from this documentary is how much nudity females want back in the horror genre and what's been taken out of it.
So what you're saying is this: is if as men we want more nudity in our films, we have to support these women in that way. We can have more breasts like we did back in the day and everything like that. It's almost like the free the nipple. We have to support these women to get our dreams to come true. Basically, that's what you're saying.
Yes, pretty much is the internet's lying. It's not just guys who want the nudity back into horror, it's for females as well. So bring on the 80s horror films again. A comeback might happen.
I almost felt like we should have done this podcast in the nude, Lamar. Like, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I don't have B. I have like maybe A's. So I don't know about you, Joe. Like, what do you have?
Got to be maybe a B. I don't know.
Maybe a B. They probably be like, they probably look at us and be like, okay, where can we find the documentary?
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Well,
we would try. Yes. Yeah.
The sequel documentary, you never know.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. So.
Well, aside from the nudity and stuff, did you ever have like a favorite B movie, something that you think is the pinnacle of the B movie that has all the elements that you need for a B movie horror?
Well, without sounding a bit favoritism with Troma, I would say Class and Newcomb High.
Okay.
Because it's got the tits in it. It's got the over the top blood and like green toxic waste, but unbelievable. Like, how the hell has the story been put together, sort of thing. And it's got actually some decent creature effects in it.
Yeah.
As well for its time. But I would say most probably that for the classic. I would say as a modern B movie, which people do forget about, is, do you remember a film called Sliver
Yes.
Yes,
by
we need to
by
talk
James
about
Gunn?
that movie. Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Yeah, I think for a more modern B movie thing, I would say Sliver, because I find with horror fans is you got some horror fans who don't like watching films from the 70s and 80s because they find it too slow or too old to watch. But I think Sliver's a good one for a modern generation to watch.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
that'd be my two. It'd be Castle Newcomb High, followed by Sliver.
Nice.
And what tips would you give to, like, any type of filmmaker, whether they want to go into mainstream, B movie, independent? What would you tell them about, getting, your film made or your art seen by people?
Don't expect to be rich.
Hey, that's some real talk. Hey, tell it.
That's the my biggest advice. Don't expect to be rich. Don't expect to make it a living. I've been lucky enough that I can work in film and have it as my living. But I know many people who think they're going to make a film and it's going to make them loads of money, and that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
And I think the reality of that is, without being a bit depressing on this matter, is what you do is when you've made your film and you've got your film edited and it's all done, is you've got to tour the film festival circuit for usually about 6 months to a year. And then don't expect your film to come out for if you do find a distribution company to put your film out there, don't expect it to come out that year. It might be a year before it even comes out. And then you might get, if you're lucky, you might get, $10-20 within 6 months from your film. It's basically it's not a career thing unless you've got your hands in all the pies and movies, let's say.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
So it's like, for me is, I do my own films, but I do stunt work, I do prop work, I do wardrobe and makeup for bigger production companies and bigger sets where that's usually my main income.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I've been lucky enough with my own films where I make enough with my films where it's like a steady income.
Cool.
But you're not going to make a load of money. So
Right on.
that's my advice. Don't do it if you think you're going to make money. Do it because you want to do it.
Yeah, that's always the best advice. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For arts.
Yeah.
So before we wrap it up, where can people connect with you online? Where can they see the documentary when it comes out? All of that.
Right. So Instagram, it's Screaming Screening, and Twitter, it's Screaming SCREE1. Because Twitter, for some reason, didn't like my name. I'm also on YouTube under Screaming Screening as well.
Okay.
The documentary will be available on Watch Troma.
Okay.
Later this year, where there'll be a link for a donation, which is straight to Keep Breast Foundation. They can donate money. And it's also been having a physical release with, I think, the company's Horror Boobs in the States. But it's been released on Horror Boobs and also being released by another company. But for love of me, I can't remember what the other company is. I think it's Dead Fizzle.
Okay.
Dead Fizzle Productions. That'll be released on DVD and Blu-ray with them. And then all money from physical releases goes straight to Keep Breast Foundation as well.
That's awesome. That's like the best
Cool,
part
man.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's helping out, other people that are afflicted with that. And so it goes to a good cause. It's fun, but also, helps somebody out for real. So that's what's up.
Yeah. And we've got some good names in it. So we've got Darcy from Joe Bob's Last Drive, and she's in the documentary.
Yes.
And then we've got, for people on this side of the pond, or people who, let's say, might know some risky sites. We've got Alexa Fice in it as well, who's been in a couple of my films. And we've got some Troma people and some other people in it. So it's a good bit of fun in there, and I think people will enjoy it.
Cool. That's the great thing about the B movie. There's definitely a community there.
Huge
Yeah,
community.
that's the thing. There's a community with the B movie guys, and it's even like you will never meet a B movie guy who won't help another B movie guy out, even if it's directing or advice or anything like that. They always help each other out.
Awesome.
Real talk.
And to be quite honest, if they don't help another B movie person out, it kind of spreads quite quickly. The B movie communities it's God, I'm gonna sound like Finn Diesel out of Fast and Furious. It's like family. You basically just you help each other out.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. That's what's up. Yeah.
Yep. Well, right on, man. Well, we won't keep you anymore, but thank you for joining us.
Definitely,
Everyone,
man.
go check out the movie and check out all of other Joe Cash's other movies. And yeah, thank you, man.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Peace.
Deuces, man.